let's get into some of the real secrets of how to make business email work for you. And probably the most important area, at least to begin with, is the subject line. And so here are a couple tricks that I've used and seen other really successful people use to get people on the receiving end to actually read their emails. The first is just put somebody's name in the subject line. We are all so self-obsessed that when we see our name, it draws our attention to it. And so by simply starting off an email or somewhere in the body of the subject line, adding in the name, it's historically meaningfully increased the likelihood that that email gets opened. Now, the one caveat is there's so many email programs these days that automatically add your name in that we've all become a little desensitized to it, but it's still something that works pretty well and I use with regularity. Second key thing, add random punctuation and characters into the subject line. Basically, anything in the subject line that stands out visually and that somebody's not used to seeing grabs their attention. And so by putting things like a question mark or an exclamation point or a star in a subject line, you can actually meaningfully increase the likelihood of getting somebody to open up that email. And there was this great case study where a good friend of mine who ran an internet company that emailed millions of people a day did a test where they put a smiley face at the end of a subject line, and it actually increased the open rate by 20%. Third thing, I call this misleading subject lines. A lot of times when I reach out to somebody for the first time and I'm trying to set up a call, I'll use a subject line, "Hi, David, comma, our call." Now this person may have never met me before in our entire life. We may have never talked, we may have never had an email correspondence. And what happens is in the body of that email, I'll ask to set up a call. And so in the subject line, all I'm really doing is referencing this future call that I'm asking to have set up. But the person on the receiving end is gonna think, okay, do I have a call with this person? Is it already on the books? And so you'll have to do that little bit of work to check the body of the email to make sure it's not something that's already planned. So putting in a phrase like our meeting, our call, and then in the body of the email referencing this future meeting or call you want to have is often a really good, maybe tricky, but really good way to get somebody to open up your email. The fourth way is simply to put in the word at the beginning of an email, important dash, and whatever you're going to write, or response required dash, whatever you're going to write. And it was maybe 2 weeks ago, and I got an email that I knew was spam. I knew it was spam, but it started off with response required. And there's this little voice inside my head that said, well, what if there's this 1% chance that it's not spam and you have to get back to it? So I opened it, and it was spam, and I was annoyed at myself because I knew it was going to be spam. But just because it said response required or important, it gave an indicator that, okay, this is something I have to pay attention to. And the last pretty well-known practice that more and more people are using is actually making the entire body of the message the subject line. So a lot of times what I do is I put the entire body of what I'm going to write in the email just in the subject line and nothing else. And our behavior has been so trained by sites like Twitter, where we're used to getting these short messages and text messages, that actually just seeing a quick line where there's an identifiable action that's required enables us to respond to things more quickly. And so by using one or all of those 6 techniques, you're almost guaranteed to get people opening up your emails, reading them, and responding to them with much greater likelihood.